So Power Lines Productions. It sounds like a huge outfit, but it's just two dudes. It's two locals from Half Moon Bay area, Kurt Myers and Eric Nelson, who started making little videos of their friends for a local access channel back in the 80s. And then realized that they had one of the best big waves in the world in their backyard and started filming that. And they've been doing it, filming Mavericks nonstop since the early 90s, so over 30 years now. Safe to say they're not making a living at it. They're not doing it for the money.
I've wanted to be a filmmaker since I was in the 3rd grade, something I'm fairly passionate about. My dad said, well, why don't you go to the local community access channel and see if you can do a show on surfing? And so I did. I thought they'd laugh in my face, but they didn't because they were so hard up for content. I started a TV show called Power Lines Surf Spots, and it was a cool run.
I think it was like 1980, early 80s. My father bought a VHS camera, and it was pretty cool. I started filming my friends skateboarding. Later on, I started watching Power Lines, which Eric Nelson had on our local community access.
I'd known Kurt Myers for years just from surfing, and one day Kurt paddles up and he looks at me and he goes, dude, your show's getting kind of stale. So of course I was super annoyed, and I go, well, why don't you do a show? Why don't you do a show and you can put it on. You don't even have to call it Power Lines.
Coming out of here in El Granada at the time, surfing was just insane, and my friends were just surfing really well, and you would see these videos that were coming out, and I would be like, my friends are that good. How can I start helping them out? So that was kind of my goal, was to help elevate my friends and the locals here to be seen and potentially, get some sponsorship.
Somewhere in February of 1991, Jeff Clark called me up. He goes, Mavericks is breaking, so come on out and film it. He had brought Tom Powers and Dave Schmidt, Richard Schmidt's brother, out there to see for themselves. I was the first guy to shoot Mavericks back then. A lot has happened since then in the last 30 years.
I moved to Montera in 1990 and got to know Eric and Kurt, and they had a cable access surf show, which we thought was really cool. We were, I think, Channel 6 or something that you only get if you live within a few miles of the station, but we were watching Mavericks footage thanks to those guys really early on, and got to know them a little bit, and they've obviously been invaluable to the community and really the whole world as far as big wave surfing goes.
When I think about those guys and what they've done, the first thing I think about is the many hours that they've spent on the cliff and in the water shooting this stuff. But that fails to take into account the equal number of hours that they've spent, Kurt especially has spent, editing it afterwards. And he'll go back sometimes that night, after being out in the water all day, he'll go back because he knows he's got something good and he wants to get it out in the world quickly. And I think the first time they did that was with that movie 1211.
Kurt was shooting from the water, I was shooting from land, and we basically were documenting one of the most perfect days ever. There was not a drop of water out of place at Mavericks. It was solid 20-foot face, 25, maybe 30-foot faces on the sets, just glass, oil glass. We raced back to my studio, we hammered out 1211, and we showed it at the local restaurant/shop that was Quicksilver affiliated, so all the surfers would kind of hang out there. It's where the OPL is now. We screened this video for everybody that had surfed that day, and it was wave for wave, wave for wave, wave for wave, and everybody was super excited for us, and they were like, you guys should team up.
And I think it goes all the way back to the history of surfing, the gathering of the tribe to watch it, and to if we all just surfed and went home and no one ever, made fun of each other or seen the rides, it would be totally different. So that first tape that had the big day, we all watched it over and over. I was out there and I was just, I saw what I saw, and then I saw what was on the video. But Eric and Kurt were a part of it pretty early, and the footage thing was for me central because I wanted to capture it and be a part of it, and we learned so much from the footage. There were very few people taking any pictures, and Kurt and Eric were some of the first that were on it, and they were on it after that forever. If it was every day, it wouldn't be as special, so that's what makes it so great, and that's why the hunt is forever fresh.
Yeah, I think the first really monumental wave that they shot, Eric, who shot it from the cliff, was Jay Moriarty's famous wipeout in December of '94, when he was only 16, and I was editing Surfer at the time. But that was, I think, the first time they really realized that, wow, we've got a wave here that the world's going to want to see, and I think that maybe that was when they started feeling some sense of obligation to be out there and document every great swell.
On Monday, December 19th, at around 8 or 9 o'clock, Jay Moriarty paddled out, took off on this gigantic wave, completely ate it, and was launched into surf lore, made the cover of Surfer magazine. He was 16 years old. And the irony was he hardly ever fell. And his biggest, him being known and famous for, is that wipeout that made the cover of Surfer magazine. It was super windy. There was guys who had a lot of experience, and they did not paddle out. Jeff Clark's being known as this like gnarly hard charging guy. Even he had the common sense to not go out when it was that windy. Richard Schmidt, Doc Renneker, they looked at it and they went, you can have it. And the results are in the footage if you ever see it.
The fact that Eric was there for Jay's wave in '94 just sort of sums up his dedication, because in those days there weren't a lot of photographers on it. Somebody, I think Bob Barber, got the classic still, the Iron Cross, maybe the greatest wipeout shot of all time. But Eric got it on film, and I think he's the only one who got it from land. I'm pretty sure it.
Another thing that impresses me about what they do, Kurt feels a real obligation to help out all the young surfers around here who are going out there trying to charge Mavericks, especially the crew like Luca Padua and the Lundgaard brothers and Hunter Morrison, who are charging the left, which is a gnarly clamshell of a wave, and requires a specific kind of skill. So I imagine getting to see themselves in that footage over and over has helped them all kind of get better at it, and also do it more safely. That's one of the most dangerous waves you could possibly surf, that left.
It's great to be a platform to provide that for these guys, and the people around here. That's the number one thing, is to help them progress any way they can, and especially if we can help maybe get them on a trip, help get them noticed so they can go on a trip to Indonesia paid for. That's to us, that's like a medal.
There was a moment about 1.5 years ago when Peter Mel got what I think was, what a lot of people think was the best wave ever ridden out there. He knew that if you could take off behind the peak and time your bottom turn right, you could pull up and get a legitimate tube ride, like a legitimate barrel. One came through that it was just perfect for that, and he was in the perfect spot. It was 30 years of experience on his part. What I love about that clip, which Kurt Myers got from the channel, was that he realized in the moment that that was maybe the best Mavericks wave ever ridden, because he'd seen all the great waves. He knew it. He knew what he had. And to his absolute credit, Kurt just kept the camera on him the whole time. And it gave the ride so much more potency, because it allowed the audience to feel the emotion, not just see it, but to actually be part of that emotional moment, the aftermath of it. And it takes someone who's been out there for 30 years to kind of figure that out.
I saw what the swells were doing, and I knew at that time that it was going to be good. And I didn't know Peter was going to be out there, but I just knew that, Twiggy's going to be out there, and all the boys and girls, So I get to the dock, and there's a few people down at the dock, at the launch ramp. And they're like, and I'm getting my ski ready, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? How come you guys aren't out there? And they're like, well, we're working for IMAX. Yeah, we're just kind of waiting for them. They're out there, and I'm all, see ya. I'm going out there to film, dude. The waves are gonna be sick. And sure enough, I get out there, Peter's sitting out further than anybody, and I just filmed him. I'm all, whoa, Peter's sitting out there. And like 7 to 9 minutes later, Pete just got that wave, and it was like,
Just come in already! Are you kidding me?
was that the best wave in surfing ever? I'm 1,000% blown away that Peter and I comboed for that. And Peter did all the work. I was just there to capture it.